Hello and welcome to the Run Testers and this video on the best marathon shoes. I'm Nick.
And I'm Tom.
And this video is brought to you in partnership with Precision Fueling and Hydration. And it's a good one for it, Tom, because it doesn't matter what marathon shoes you're wearing, if you don't get your fueling right, you're not going to have a very good time running 42.2k.
I'm more than aware of that after one quite fateful marathon where I spent a lot of time in the toilets.
And even when you get it right, Tom, I'm always surprised by your fueling. Last time we did a marathon, we were out in Bilbao together, and I saw your preparation in the time leading up to marathon. It was mostly McDonald's. Might add a bit of sugar to coffee, and then grab the nearest gels from whatever store is open, and that was it. And that did surprise me. I will say that.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say my current or historical fueling strategy has not been at the top of the pile. Definitely don't take advice from me when it comes to fueling.
Fair. I've all done it though. I've ended up in Portaloos in the past as well, and that's where Precision Fueling Hydration can help. They have a carb calculator on the website that can really break it down and show you how much carb you need to take throughout the course of a marathon or any other kind of run, just to make sure your body has the fuel it needs to perform at its best. So do head to the website, try out the carb calculator, and if you're going to shop any of the Precision Fueling and Hydration range, use the code RT15 for a 15% discount. We'll chuck a load of links and stuff in the comment as well to make it a bit easier. So we've taken a slightly different approach for this video. Often in our best roundups, we just talk about our favourite things. And we're still going to do that a little bit, but the truth is we all basically favour a carbon plate racing shoe. So we decided to break the best marathon shoes down into 5 different sections. Then we each voted on 2 shoes that we thought were the best in each of those sections. We pooled all those votes and we gave an overall winner and a runner-up for each section, and then a load of honourable mentions, because if we like a shoe, we want it mentioned. It doesn't matter if it didn't win the vote.
All right then, what are the sections?
So first one's going to be the best carbon plate racing shoe. This is basically our top pick, the one we're using when we're going for PBs. It's a fairly obvious one to have in there. Then we're going to talk about the best shoe just to get around in comfort, Tom. Slightly different approach. If you're just trying to roll around your miles, you're not really too fussed about how fast you're going, we've got the most comfortable shoes for you as well.
I've been there.
So there are a lot. Then we're going to talk about some value marathon racing shoes. Now, we can look at this in a few different ways, but yeah, basically talking about a shoe that we think is going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. It's going to perform well, it's not going to cost you too much, you might be able to use it for a lot of training, that kind of thing. Then we're going to go on to the best marathon shoes for beginners. Again, we'll look at this in different ways, but we're looking again not to spend huge amounts of money, but we want a comfortable shoe, but we still want to give you the chance of running a nice quick time, because your first marathon might be the only one you ever want to do. And the last category is the best non-plated marathon shoe. Bit of a throwback to the days of only like 5 years ago when you didn't get to race in super boing boing shoes with carbon plates. What shoe can you use if you're dead against carbon plates? All right, first category is the creme de la creme, the really expensive, very fancy shoes, all the modern tech, the carbon plate racing shoe. Tom, what is our winner in this category?
Well, I think it will come as no surprise to anybody watching this video or any of our videos that the winner of the best carbon plate shoe for us is the Nike Vaporfly Next% 2. I've got it here actually. Let me just dig it out. There we go. There's my nice colourway of it. So Nick, why have we picked this?
Well, it's it's the most popular marathon shoe probably in the world these days. Nowadays, if people are going seriously for PBs, it's the kind of carbon plate shoe that started it all. You've got a full-length carbon plate, a lovely big stack of soft and squishy ZoomX foam. That's fantastic. It's fast, it's lightweight, it's protective. You're basically going to be running more efficiently. So at the end of your race, you're going to finish with a bang. It was a pretty easy pick, and if you're going to recommend a shoe to anyone, it's very easy to recommend the Vaporfly because there's so many runners who have used it and loved it.
Yeah, I would say here that anyone watching this video thinking, oh, they're going on about the Vaporfly again. Honestly, we're desperate for a shoe to beat it. We talk about the Vaporfly so much. If a shoe comes along that's better than the Vaporfly, we're going to be so excited. We can change all of the lists and everything. So yeah, we're in the same boat as you. We're desperate for a new super shoe that wins the pile.
And on that note, there's one shoe that came very close last year, which is the Asics Metaspeed Sky. This is our runner-up. Now we probably could all tell you from the Run Testers who voted for this hard, and that's Mike Saw, because he's used the Metaspeed Sky for his last couple of marathons and he's PB'd in it. No, 3 marathons now, although he didn't finish one because he got sent the wrong way. But
still did a good job with it.
Yeah, he did do. Yeah, he's PB'd pretty much every time he's actually managed to complete the distance in it. It's a fantastic shoe. It's a bit lower stack than the Vaporfly, but it's still got a very high stack, a full-length carbon plate, Asics' FF Turbo foam, which is, again, all the stuff you want. It's bouncy, it's lightweight, it's propulsive, it helps you run efficiently, it protects the legs. There's really nothing bad about the shoe, and it's also a cracking option for shorter races as well, which is the same as the Vaporfly.
Yeah, I always say that when I first tested this out, it was the closest feel in a shoe that I'd ever felt to the Vaporfly. So it felt the closest to the Vaporfly that I'd ever tested. And like now, if I go for a race and I don't want to wear for some strange reason, I'm not wearing the Vaporfly, Asics Metaspeed Sky is my next choice every time.
Yeah, and it's also worth mentioning that the Asics Metaspeed Sky Plus has just launched, which looks like it's got a beefier stack. We've got, obviously, a couple of the guys have got them in for testing. We're going to get the reviews out as soon as we can, but hopefully it's going to be more of the same and it'll maybe even closer challenge the Vaporfly.
Very excited to see what Mike has to say about this.
Now, let's talk about some of the honourable mentions, and basically the big honourable mention I want to mention, which is the Alphafly. If you're a regular viewer on the channel, you know that this is my favourite carbon plate racing shoe for the marathon. Ran my 2:29 marathon in it. Tom's actually run his marathon PB in it as well, but he still voted for the Vaporfly because he's a traitor to the Alphafly. So yeah, the problem is it's a lot more expensive, it's a bit bigger, but I think it's fantastic. The introduction of the AirPods at the front, I think provides a slightly poppier ride, and it's a bit comfier, and it just helps me roll through marathons even more impressively, but it didn't get number 1 or 2 spot thanks to the other guys, so I won't go on about it too much, I guess. And a couple other great shoes we should mention quickly. There's the Adios Pro 2, which is a slightly cheaper option. That's £170. Very good marathon racer. You'll see elites winning in that because Adidas, like Nike, has a lot of very good elites. That's an option if you want to spend under £200, which is now a bargain, it turns out. So next category is the best marathon shoe if you're just looking to get round in comfort, and I'm pleased to say that Tom and I's favourite, and the ones that we voted for, ended up winning the category. Tom, what is it?
This is the Brooks Glycerin 19 that we've gone for, but the 20 is coming out very soon, and so it's very exciting. Yeah, the Glycerin 19, it's a shoe that I've been obsessed with for a very long time, and the 18 as well I was a big fan of. It's really cushioned, but it's still got enough sort of versatility in it to still deliver a bit more. So we'll talk about cushion shoes in a bit, and my choice for cushion shoe is very similar to the Glycerin, but just doesn't have the versatility of the Glycerin 19. I think it's just a fantastic shoe that just balances cushioning with being able to actually run a little bit faster and pick up the pace a bit.
Yeah, I think it's a great shoe. It's supremely comfortable. It's like all that padding on the top. You step into it and it's just like, yeah, it's like stepping into a foot bath, and that feeling will maintain as much as possible through your marathon. Like if you just want to feel good at the end of a marathon, it'll be the shoe I would pull on. And actually our runner-up is built in a very similar vein. It's the Saucony Triumph 19 here, which again is a big, high stack, premium daily trainer with loads of padding around the heel and the collar. I'd say it's got a little bit of versatility as well, like you say, Tom. It's got a good midsole foam here that's built mainly for comfort, but you can, if you're feeling very good at the end of your marathon, you can up the pace a bit at the end of it. But yeah, it's built along similar lines. It's going to protect your legs, it's going to protect the body. And the key with both of those shoes as well is it's not just marathon day. Both the Glycerin and the Triumph will protect your legs throughout the many months of training. If you're just looking to tick along, enjoy your running, they're both cracking options, basically. And then we've got a few other similar shoes like this. There's the new On Cloud Monster is built in a similar way. It's a shoe with a big high stack that's built for a bit more comfort. It's probably a bit lighter than the Glycerin and the Triumph, so that might be an option for people who want a cruisy feel but don't want to feel too weighted down by their big cushion shoes. And there's the Nike Invincible that we both like a lot, Tom. That's a big, squishy, comfortable shoe, right?
Very squishy, comfortable. It's the squishiest shoe I've ever worn in my life. Very comfortable shoe, but also quite enjoyable to use for long distances.
Yeah, so that's some good options there if you need a lot of cushioning and you're just looking to get to the finish line with a smile on your face. Okay, next up we have the best marathon shoe for beginners. Now with this, we want to try and find a nice balance. We want to make a shoe that's not crazy expensive, but was still very good. It was comfortable and cushioned, so it would protect your legs when you're kind of starting out of marathon running. But it was also, a lot of people who are beginners aren't just going out to run, just to get round. Sometimes they do want to run a bit quick, and that's why I flashed it a couple of times. It's the Puma Velocity Nitro 2. It's a huge favourite on the channel, it's fair to say, Tom.
Oh, yeah, if ever you see us in the pub, the Velocity Nitro pops up at least once every half hour. Somebody mentions it. Yeah, it's very popular.
And there's lots of reasons there, but the starts with the fact it's £100, which is great value for such a fantastic shoe. It's a shoe that has 2 foams in the midsole. You've got this nitrogen-infused foam on top, which is soft, bouncy, really lovely underfoot feel, and then you've got an EVA foam underneath, which creates a bit more durability, slightly more stability, and just basically means the shoe's going to last you a lot of training, and it's going to feel amazing throughout that training, and it's very comfortable. It's got some bounce there for some pace. It's got a lovely padded, heel here for when you're logging long miles that it's going to protect your legs, but it's also going to be a really fun shoe to run in. You're not just thinking about comfort. It's pretty versatile. It can do, if you have speed sessions on your first marathon training plan, or you want to, go for a decent time the first time out, it's a great shoe to have.
Yeah, I'd say as well about the Puma Velocity Nitro, that we often talk about the shoe as if it's a premium shoe. The way that it's not. It's so similar to some of the more expensive offerings that it's such a great value for that price that it barely even fits into the budget realm. It's just a great shoe.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it's not just a great shoe for £100. I mean, this is the shoe that goes in my rotation, and I've got access to every kind of cushion shoe going. This is the one I pick above all of them, and it just happens that it's also a lot cheaper, which is fantastic. Now, actually, in this category, we don't have a runner-up because this was just so clearly the winner across the board that we just have a few other honourable mentions that we think are also really good shoes that they're a bit more expensive, these other options, it's fair to say, we picked out here, but they will provide that good balance of comfort, cushioning, protection, whilst also helping you pick up the pace if you want to. And I think probably what's key to say with some of these is that they maybe have a bit more stability than the Puma, which is quite a soft shoe. So there's something like the Nike Infinity Run 3, which is a neutral shoe but has a lot of stability features. That might help protect the legs if you're very worried about injury when you're starting out. And then another big favourite of both of us, it's fair to say, is the 1080 line from New Balance.
Yeah, the 1080 really is just a solid all-rounder. You often see a lot of runners. If you do the London Marathon, there'll be so many people running 1080 V10s, V11s, and the V12 is just out now. Just because it's so versatile, you can use it for all your training, you can use it for a full marathon, you can go a bit faster in it. It's not the fastest shoe in the world, but it's just a great versatile option that just ticks a lot of boxes.
And I think one other little line to mention is Saucony's Ride line. The newest version is the Saucony Ride 15. We've just started testing it, and there's the 14, 13 are also great shoes you might be able to pick up in sales, and they're again just quite versatile, comfy daily trainers that can take any distance and are good options for the marathon. Kind of, if you're running it slowly or a bit quicker or anything really, it will do the job. Okay, next up we have the best value marathon running shoe, and I think what we went for with this is we didn't just go for the cheaper shoe because that is obviously great value in some ways, but we want to give you a shoe that essentially provided value by being fantastic in performance in both terms of race day and all your training. It can do everything, and for us that's the Saucony Endorphin Speed 2.
Yeah, so the Speed 2 has been a shoe that it's very similar to the Speed 1, and the Speed 1 was one of the most ridiculously popular shoes I've ever seen released. The Speed 2 is much the same. It just has a full-length plate, not a carbon plate, but it delivers very similar to the Endorphin Pro and the Pro 2, which are the performance level versions of that shoe. It's just a fantastic, versatile shoe that you can use for training day, or you can race in it. Some people I know prefer running in the Speed 2 for race day than their carbon plate shoes, just because it has so much to it. But then again, on those easy, I wouldn't say easy miles, but maybe daily miles, it's fantastic as well because it's very versatile and you can just pick up the pace if you want or slow down, and it feels great still.
Yeah, exactly. And it's £155, so it's not the cheapest shoe in the world, but like I said, you're getting so much shoe here. Like I said, it's a nylon plate, so it makes it a bit softer and more comfortable when you're using it for daily training, which you wouldn't want to do necessarily in the Endorphin Pro version, which is a bit stiffer and harsher with that carbon plate. But yeah, exactly like Tom says, it performs like a champ on race day. I've raced kind of 5Ks in this shoe. I've done lots of hard speed sessions that it performs really very much like on the level of a carbon racer, and nearly all of those are kind of over 200 quid. So you're getting a high performance shoe for a lot less. But if you are just looking for kind of cheaper shoes, which is fair enough, Puma Velocity Nitro 2, that's a great value shoe. We've already talked about that. And then there's the Reebok Float Ride Energy 4, which is another great, it's £75. It's a fantastic shoe. I often recommend it to people. It's pretty comfortable, it's got a little bit of pace, it can do a lot of stuff, and it's 75 quid and nearly always reduced in some way as well, which is crazy to me. So that's another great value option. And then there's a couple of other good shoes, kind of around the £100 mark that we both like the Pegasus line from Nike is a pretty solid, comfortable shoe, if not necessarily the quickest, and the Hoka Rincon, you're a big fan of, Tom, right?
Big fan of the Rincon. I think the Rincon 3, be quick on this one, Rincon 3, nice cheap shoe, issues around durability for it, so it may be cheaper. It's very light. I actually used to race in the Rincon 1 and 2 quite a bit, and I really enjoyed that, even though I had shoes specifically designed for racing. But there is a trade-off for that, the cost savings, and it possibly is the durability of it.
I probably should have said actually at some point in this that this is another category where there's no runner-up. The Speed 2 was the clear winner in our book, and then there's a lot of honourable mentions if you do want something a little bit cheaper. All right, our final category is non-plated marathon racing shoes. So obviously, we've all done marathons in the past where a lot of time we might have to use racing flats or something brutally harsh like that, and you just don't have to do that these days. The carbon shoes are very comfortable and very, very springy. But if you don't want to use a carbon plate shoe, we've kind of looked at the market out there. What's there now in terms of cushion but still quick? And our overall winner is the Hoka Mach 4. Tom, you're a fan of the shoe. I'm a fan of the shoe. Mike loves this shoe as well. I think it's just got a really nice balance of kind of it's lightweight, it's cushioned, it's got a bit of speed in it, but it really protects the legs well.
Yeah, it's just great. I mean, it's very similar for me to the Speed 2. It's just it doesn't have a plate. It just has that versatility. I think if this was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, this would be one of the top shoes for marathons and things like that, just because it's just so versatile and does the job for everything you need.
Exactly, yeah. It's got a lovely soft ride. Like you obviously could still use a racing flat for marathons these days, and they're very quick and they're lighter than this Mach 4. But this is still very lightweight, and the extra protection you get from the higher stack and the kind of soft cushioning, really will save your legs deep into a race. Like I've done 20-mile training runs in this shoe, and it's just amazing how fresh you feel kind of late on in runs using it. But it is still fast. Like you've got this ProFly dual density midsole. You get a nice kind of soft upper layer that gives you a nice rebound and bounce. That means you can hold those kind of marathon race paces for long periods. And it's got so much going for it that we thought we'd end up being the top pick for our non-plated racer. And then our runner-up actually is a little bit more similar to the kind of racing flats of old, but kind of today's racing flats are a bit more souped up. This is the Under Armour Flow Infinity 2. Mike and Kieran, both massive fans of this shoe, and it's got quite a firm feel. It actually doesn't differ hugely from those kind of old school racing flats, but you can see the stack is a lot higher of this flow foam, so you are getting a lot more protection whilst having a lightweight shoe with a lot of pace in it. And also, it looks absolutely fantastic in this Brazil colourway, and you want to look good on race day, right, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I've only done about 20k in this so far because I got hold of it just after getting injured. But I think I know Mike started using this. Mike used to be a very focused barefoot runner, so he had a sort of transitional phase from going from barefoot to going to full on, Asics Metaspeed Sky and things like that. But I remember this shoe was the shoe that he said really helped the transition because it felt very similar in the feel of running in it to a more minimal shoe, but it had that added cushioning in it. So it's definitely got an interesting feel to it, and it really does feel very light to run in.
Yeah, it's also, and on top of all this, isn't really relevant to marathon racing. It's a smart shoe, so it will kind of track your runs and give you some info on like your technique using the Map My Run app. But it might be nice to look at after a marathon. And then I think one of the shoes probably worth mentioning as an honorable mention here is that a lot of people, including myself, used to use the Adidas Boston or Adidas Adios lines to race in, and those are very different these days. But actually, the newest Adidas Adios 6 is probably quite similar to the Boston of old, and that's quite a nice, very traditional, snappy shoe, lightweight, fairly low profile that you could use for marathons if you are hankering for a return to the days of kind of pure racing flats, or you can just pick up a pair of racing flats. They only cost about 50 quid these days. That's it, guys. That's our roundup of what we think are the best marathon shoes out there in these 5 different categories. Please jump into the comments and let us know what you think. I'm sure there's lots of other choices we've forgotten. And do go to the Precision Fueling and Hydration website to make sure that if you are running a marathon, you're going to be fueling correctly and hydrating correctly and not blowing up because you didn't eat enough or drink enough.
Like me.
See you later.